Hi guys, this is another final reveal video. This time it's for the 72nd scale Airfix Ferry Battle Mark 1. I did a different variation for this kit because, as I said in the inbox review, this was actually one of my build kits for one of the Bomber Command buddy builds hosted by Martin Lamont, and unfortunately, due to circumstances, I had no chance in hell of finishing any of these kits. The other three kits that were involved with this buddy build are still in the process of being built, but I decided to go ahead with these builds because I was really quite enthralled with the idea of building what I'm going to build, and the Fairy Battle is the first one that's been finished. This kit would have been on a diorama, but I don't want to go to all the time and effort of a diorama anymore because I want to divert that time to doing the D-Day diorama, which is being hosted by Martin as well at the moment. But this is the Target Tug variant of this is a TT Mark, I think it's a TT Mark 1, the first of the ferry battles that were converted into Target Tugs. And they're very easily recognisable because later variants like the TT Mark 6 and Mark 10s tended to be yellow and black striped entirely, upper and lower surfaces. But the Mark 1s, which were utilised basically for drogue gunnery practice by the bombers of Bomber Command, they were basically Mark 1s hastily converted into Target Tugs, and you can see that by the underside of the aircraft. It's all nicely, yeah, you can see that. Nicely yellow and black striped underneath. The aircraft were also a little bit more bereft of markings. They tended not to have loads and loads of insignia, or they certainly didn't carry fin flashes, except for the Mark 10s, which tended to have fin flashes over the top of the yellow and black tail fins. The interior of this kit is quite nice actually. I found it went together quite nicely. It's quite a snug fit, and again the Ferry Battle is another one of those models, as you can see, that didn't really require a huge amount of filler. I was quite pleased with the way this kit went together. There is an issue with this kit that it can catch you unawares, which is the undercarriage arrangement. The undercarriage arrangement on this kit is quite complicated, and it revolves around the main undercarriage oleos on the wheels. There's a mud guard attached to each section, and on the front you've got two separate undercarriage doors which have to be put into the correct place, and on the back you've got two hydraulic rams which lower and raise the undercarriage, and they're quite difficult to get in the correct place, especially when you realise that this kit that I built was a red stripe kit, and the red stripe instructions are a little bit trickier to understand. And I did find that I had to test fit those undercarriage parts quite a lot to make sure that they test fitted correctly. This is another kit that I managed to get a decent gloss finish before applying the markings, and the markings have gone on reasonably well considering that they're about 30 to 40 years old. I thought I was going to have some issues. Now, the 09 at the back there, that was actually the number that was applied to the Belgium Air Force aircraft. But you have a single letter and the RAF Roundel insignia applied to the aircraft itself on the fuselage. And that is all the Target Tugs carried. There's no fin flashes on the Mark 1s, and they tended to have numbers on the rear of the rudders. And I've actually seen a photograph, not of 09, but of 06. And it had an F prefix forward of the RAF Roundel. And the roundel was a yellow circular roundel like this one that would have been applied to the Mark 1 day bomber. The other thing that's interesting that not a lot of people realise about the Ferry Battle is it was actually the first frontline RAF aircraft to be powered by a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. It beat the Hurricane by about 2 months. Conclusions on this kit? As a day bomber, it's not a bad kit. I've seen a couple of models that were actually put into the Bomber Command buddy build that were built by a couple of people that are subscribers to Martin and Lamont and myself. And I saw them and I thought, yeah, they're actually quite nice. I like what they've produced there. But building a target tug variant of this kit was not a very difficult. It was not a difficult conversion at all. Basically, the underside of the aircraft released a target drone, which was usually made of parachute material, sewn together around sawdust. And it was winched out of the ventral bay. It was like a vent in the back of the underside of the fuselage, and it was winched out to about 150 foot behind the aircraft. And then the observer, who would normally have taken up the position of the rear gunner's position, he basically just observed in the early Mark 1s and Mark 3 and Mark 4 variants of the Battle TT. He basically just observed from the rear gunner's position. So the gun was, the housing and everything was all removed, but the gunner's position was still there. But it was always in the open position. That you never found a target tug variant with a rear cockpit intact. I've never seen a photograph of a target tug with a rear cockpit intact that was operationally being used. And the idea that I had behind the diorama was to have this kit on a cobble mount, prepared for a sortie, for a gunnery training, and a short Sterling which was partially exposed from the hangar, being prepared for a gunnery training sortie. And the RAF Bomber Support Group would have been servicing the Sterling, and a couple of people would have been just checking out the elevators and the movable control surfaces and the airframe on the Battle prior to this mission going off. And I like the idea of that thing. So I'm still building the other kits that are involved with the Bomber Command buddy build, but I've also started the D-Day buddy build stuff, which is going to be interesting. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get that all sorted and finished and dioramaed up before the end of, I think it's due the end of May. So that it's plenty of time really. So that's the video for the ferry battle. I quite enjoyed building this kit. The cockpit canopy is quite a challenging thing to paint, but quite rewarding. And the interior and the cockpit assembly on this kit was actually quite detailed when you think how old the model is. It has movable ailerons, and the undercarriage the undercarriage wheels do rotate. The propeller does rotate. The propeller does rotate on this kit, but again, it's quite tight, but it does rotate. There we go. So there you go. That's the ferry battle. I hope this video has been of some use, and I'll see you for the next one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.